Hello, everybody, and welcome into the NOMA Cup Series live here tonight from Kansas Speedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Usually don't broadcast for these guys this season. Of course, we got the privilege of doing it the last few, but they needed to fill in tonight, so here we are. And I'll tell you what, kind of in that middle portion of the season. Still, obviously, again, the regular season, so no seasons on the line just yet, but we are at that point where it's always good to have that win in your back pocket and be able to start looking ahead towards the playoffs. And here tonight, another driver is going to look to see if they can add their name to that win list and potentially take some of the pressure off. With that, as the field gets gridded up, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole in the 44 machine here tonight, it will be John Ross. And to his outside, one of the former champions, Justin Parham. He will start in second. Jay Stinson back in the third spot for Venom Racing. It'll be Nathan Brozowski, and if I pronounce that last name wrong, please do let me know. He will start on the outside spot in fourth. John Lynch and Kerry Klein back in row number 3. It'll be Chase Greer back in the 7th spot in the number 8 machine here tonight. Ryan Gomes to his outside in 8th. Josh Freed will roll off 9th, and it's Keith Prince rounding out short top 10. Gregory Bloomer, he will start 11th. Kenneth Redinger to his outside in the 12th spot. Moving on back to row number 7. It'll be Devin Bacino with Ronald Lozzi to his outside in 14th. Jim Treat in 15th. It'll be Joe Hudson back in 16th. Matthew Fritz, one of the veteran drivers, he will start 17th here tonight with Dustin Rogerson back in 18th. Tommy Polt starts in 19th, and it's Sean Wilder rounding out your top 20. Chris Cornett, he will start 21st here tonight, last week's winner. And then to his outside, it'll be Patrick Hernandez in the number 4 machine. Joey Hickox, another one of the veteran drivers, he will start back in at 23rd. And it's going to be Todd Merkel to his outside in at 24th. Brian Wertman in the 74 machine rounds out your field tonight. He will start in at 25th. All right, taking a look at your race info. The distance here tonight going to be 150 laps. That breaks down to 225, which is the number represented in the Flatwoods 225, sponsor of tonight's race. Shout out to Flatwoods. Now, you do have 5 tire sets here tonight, 75% fuel as always. You have that one fast spare in your back pocket. Fixed setups. Stage 1 on lap 25. That will be the conclusion of that stage. Stage 2, the conclusion of lap 70, and 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. Kansas, 1.5 miles in length. Track temp 74 degrees, 68 out in the sim right now. And winds at 10 miles an hour shouldn't be much of a factor. All right, here we go. 2x2 as they work into the restart zone for the first time here tonight. Green flag in the air, and we are underway at Kansas. Field roars on to the backstretch for the first time here tonight. Trouble. One around, going towards the inside wall. It's Josh Freed. Does he save it? Yes, he does. What a save by the number 39 machine. Going to keep that car pointed in the right direction. We'll get back to that near spin in just a moment, but it is still chaos up here right around the 10th and 15th place positions. 3 wide now. Kenneth Redinger just in front of all this chaos here. But, man, these guys are going to have to really hold a steady wheel right here. And actually, Redinger's right in the middle of it. He's rocking a new scheme this season. He's got the Raptor, similar to what we see for Justin Parham. Still 3 wide. Now some contact between him and the 69 machine of Gregory Bloomer. And finally, they'll get it sorted out. Back to 2x2 as it was the 5 of Ronald Luzzi. Actually, I believe it's Lozzi, so I apologize for pronouncing that wrong. Was able to sneak back to the outside, so they sort out 2x2. And it looks like now, finally, the rest of the field is going to at least try to start to do a little bit more of the same. And man, what a bunch of chaos that was to start the race off. Let's go back and look at the initial start here of the race and see what happened to Josh Freed. I'm going to assume this is something to do with either contact or cold tires. Either way, he was all sorts of out of shape. Watch as they go into the corner. You see Freed in number 39 machine on the inside here. He's not getting any help. Gets caught up in a little bit of dirty air. Starts to go up the racetrack and boy, right on exit, just gets a little bit loose, and then he does get a little bit of contact out back. Just trying to figure out who that was. It looked like it might have been the 11 of Kerry Klein. But again, a heck of a save for the 39 to hold on to that race car. Right now, he finds himself currently back in the 20th position, down 11 from where he started this race at. But I don't think it's going to take Josh Freed too long try to make his way back up here. All right, already 5 laps in the books. 1/5 of the way through stage 1. John Ross, your current leader, started on the pole and currently sits in that spot now. Justin Parham in second, but he's trying to fend off a charging Nathan Brozowski, who currently sits in third, up a position from where he started this race at. Here comes the 31 machine, John O'Lynch. John, another one of the veterans of the series. Good to see him out here tonight, trying to see if he can make a good run, and he's got a pretty cool looking paint scheme. Mountain Dew colors, but a different sponsor. As he blinks out just briefly as they cross the start-finish line that time. A little bit further back, you can see everybody has single-filed out. Now, this took a little bit less time than I thought it would. I figured with the draft that these guys would be going 2 by 2 throughout most of the field for the first probably 10-15 laps. But that is not the case. I don't know if everybody is expecting this race to have a pretty long green flag run or if they just want to take it easy here in stage 1. But, I mean, we are seeing a lot of guys just being conservative, tire saving, and not trying to push the issue. Todd Merkel, though, got aggressive right there as he jumped to the inside of Tommy Polt, looking for another spot right here now as he's on the inside of Josh Freed. You can see Freed already one of those cars, and in fact, let's go up a few spots and see if we can hop on an onboard here. I was going to say, Kansas, what makes this track so interesting is similar to when you go to a Homestead, a Michigan, any of those kind of racetracks, there's so many different lines you can run here, which is obviously an advantage as a race car driver because you're always looking for clean air. You don't want to run in the wake of the car in front of you. It makes it really tough to get grip and make any ground up. But the favored lane here at Kansas always seems to be that high side. And so don't be shocked if you see a lot of drivers up running by the wall, as Jay Stinson is right now. That's the driver out of Bristol. And watch what he does here as he gets in the corner. Notice how high up he's running on the racetrack. Progressive banking, just trying to see if he can get that car to turn a little bit more, get a little bit more momentum down the straightaways. It's working out pretty well for him right now. Jay Stinson currently still sits in the top 10, but certainly going to wear those tires out a whole lot quicker than the guys that are trying to just roll the bottom, take the shorter way around, and save those tires for the end of the race when it may matter, or rather the end of the stage, I should say, when you're going to really need them to try to push the pace. So all this that we're looking at right now, the battle for right around that 5th place position, is really just about half of what's going on the entire racetrack. You see just a spot back. That's the 11 now of Kerry Klein. Looking to the inside, he's going to try to make a move further back. We've still got action just behind. Looks like the 24 of Kenneth Renninger, excuse me, a few more spots back, actually. That's Joe Hudson in the 49 machine rolling the top in the Dale Earnhardt throwback paint scheme. And just behind him, Sean Wilder in the 91 giving chase. He's got a 2 by 2 battle behind him, Chris Cornett, along with Jim Tree. And by the way, Chris Cornett was last week's winner at Iowa. He's already got another win. In fact, in the last 3 weeks, he's got himself 2 wins. So Cornett obviously in a really great spot. And I said we were kind of in the middle stretch of the season. We're actually still a little bit on the earlier end. I thought these guys were on race number 7. In fact, this actually looks like it's only race number 5. So still early on, still a lot of things that can happen. Some big name tracks that a lot of drivers are probably excited about. Anytime you go to a mile and a half, you got to feel pretty good about your chances. And I think that John Ross in the 44 has got to be feeling pretty good right now. 1.5 seconds, the gap between him and second place, Nathan Brozowski, who is trying to fend off right now a charging Justin Parham. Parham sneaking up here pretty quickly, and he's got a different paint scheme on this season from last time I saw him as well. He's got the Yingling beer sponsorship for his Chevy Camaro. Now, it is, of course, the Cup Series. Last time I was here was when it was the Truck Series, which is what these guys ran for so long. So still maybe a little bit of uncharted territory here for some of the drivers being in a different car, and obviously the next gen driving so much different than the truck cars do. Excuse me, the trucks do. So a lot of things that guys are going to have to get used to. Again, still a long way to go in the season. Is some trouble here. We had one in the wall, and it looks like further back, Josh Freed may have had some trouble as well. Getting reports that he either went through the grass or had to slow down. Something here. As you see the 39 slow rolling on the apron. Let's go see what happens to him here. Does this start all the way off of 4? Yes, it does. You can see he's rolling on the inside there of the 61, it looks like. And just starts to get a little bit loose. Can't ever really catch it. Well, he catches it. I shouldn't say that, but by the time he does catch it, he's down in the grass. And actually, that's the 81 that he was on the inside of Jim Treat and just trying to keep that car pinned down. Oh, no, actually, Treat got into the wall. And as he bounces off and comes back down, just left absolutely nowhere to go here for the 39 of Josh Freed. Watch this. So there's the 81. He's up the track into the wall, and as that car bounces off just a little bit, actually, I think Freed was washing up the track pretty bad as well here. This may have been contact regardless of if the 81 really bounced off the wall. It's just everybody getting tight early. It's such a weird setup here at Kansas. Boom, yeah. Freed was washing up too. Goes through the grass. Look at this slide. Straightens it out down the front stretch. Does a little bit of drifting in the process. Has to correct again. Does so as he works onto the pits and then eventually gets back rolling. But you see a lot of grass get thrown up on the racetrack there. Interesting to see if that hurts the grip of any of these guys over the next couple laps. And man, John Ross continues to dominate right now, way ahead of the rest of the pack. But now, all of a sudden, this thing's getting a little messy back here. Almost 3 and 4 wide. Back right around Chase Greer, who's currently on the outside of John Lynch, Ryan Gomes, Keith Prince. All back here as well. Everybody right now currently fighting for any position that they can get before we get to this stage. You want to try to set yourself up through these first 2 stages to not only grab some stage points at the end. Oh, another one off the wall. Is this going to be our first wreck of the night? One in the grass, and Ronald Losey saves it, but behind more trouble here. And now he's going to slide up onto the racetrack. Caution is out. Ronald Losey slides up into the outside safer barrier. First caution of the night on lap 17. It's going to set us up for a pretty late restart here to decide the stage winner. And it looked like Losey had saved it. And then all of a sudden, couldn't hold on any longer. Let's go first here to where it all starts. We'll back it up to the cockpit view, because this is exactly what's been the issue for quite a few drivers here over the last handful of laps. It's just getting really tight off turn 4. He's in the wake of the 55, Ryan Gomes, and just slight contact to the outside wall. Bounces off of it. Now he's loose, trying to save it. Looks like he does, but then that correction right there, as he gets those left side tires into the grass, is the one that ultimately sends him about 90 degrees perpendicular to the racing line and right back up into the outside wall. Lucky that he doesn't get hit. When you go into traffic like that, you usually don't make it out without some sort of contact. Now, you heard some spinning in front of him is what it sounded like here, and I was curious, did anybody else have an issue here, or was it just some contact? You see the 88 and the 49. Those were the two that I was keeping my eye on here. I thought that there was maybe contact between Cornette and Hudson, but there may not have been. Watch it here. You see him. Oh, yeah, there is some slight contact right there as they're going across the start-finish line. Man, that's a wicked save by the 88 of Chris Cornette. I mean, he was about 45 degrees sideways, about 175 miles an hour, and he holds on. Nicely done. And that leaves the only car that really could have gotten much of any damage here is Ronald Losey. Watch it again, right as he slides up. Everybody missing him. Man, it got really, really close a few times, though. I'm telling you, this could have been so much worse. And then little tap to the front nose of his Ford Mustang right at the last second as he starts to bring it back down. And so your first caution of the night, as you see Ronald Losey now getting some service in the pits. He will make it back out. Not going to have to use that fast repair on that. At least I wouldn't assume you would. But either way, this sets up some strategy play now. 19 of 150 laps complete. But when we go green here, it looks like it's only going to be 4 or 5 laps to go in the stage. So up front leading right now is John Ross. He's been the dominant car all night so far. Kerry Klein in second. Kenneth Redinger now up to third. It's Jay Stinson in fourth, and Chase Greer currently rounding out your top 5. Well, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You are watching the NOMA Cup Series on PGR eSports, filling in just for tonight for these guys, as the regular broadcaster / channel that broadcasts with these guys this season was not able to make it. But again, normally you can catch these guys over on Royalty Racing Network. Make sure you look them up on YouTube if you want to see more of the NOMA Cup Series action. These guys race every Saturday at 10 p.m. Lights are off on the pace car, so we will be going back green this time. And by the way, I did want to get back to a point I touched on earlier. Chris Cornette, winning 3. Actually make it 2 out of the last 3 races. Trying to see if he can win it tonight. But then the other winners this season, at Daytona it was Devin Bacino, and then at Chicagoland it was John Ross. Now John Ross leading tonight. Certainly feels like you can start to see a little bit of an early trend on who some of the dominant cars and championship favorites might be. As Nancy Hickok's in the chat tonight, says, hey, Austin, thanks for helping us out tonight. No problem, Nancy. Good to see you. Hope that you are doing well. All right, so a restart, 4 laps to go. Tires, whether they're worn out or not, and actually I can check here before we go back green if everybody pits. That was the other question that was left to be answered, and it looks like at the yellow flag, well, we saw some drivers pit towards the back, although, no, not a lot of them, and not your leaders either. Let's see. Here we go. It'll be exactly 5 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. 21 laps complete at Kansas. Great restart out in front for John Ross. That's exactly what he needed to do as the field stays 2x2 behind him. They're going to fan out 3 wide here. You saw the 81 looking to the inside. Jim Treat couldn't do it, but meanwhile up top, look at that 12. That's Todd Merkel rolling on the outside. He's got a head of steam, and he's trying to ride it all the way to the front. Long ways to go. Still 3 wide. Watch out, Ryan Gomes in the 55. Trying to make something happen back there. It is still a gaggle of race cars from about the 5th spot on back. 22 laps to go, and as they cross the line, that was a huge gap that John Ross was able to create. As, some trouble further back here. Keith Prince in the grass. And that number 1 machine, he's trying to straighten it out. He will. Caution. Back out. Some more trouble here. What happened? Was this involving... Who was this involving? That's the big question here. Got a report of a few different cars going off track. And that caution may very well end this stage. Be interesting to see what drivers stay out for the stage points, if so. And what drivers commit to just going in for the tires. Well, let's go back and see here. What brings out the caution? I saw Gregory Bloom and Keith Prince as potentially the 2 cars that get tangled up here. The 69 and the number 1. See the one on the bottom, the 69, and the camouflage bush light scheme in the middle. And Machino's going to split the 69, 3 wide. They're actually going to go 4 wide. Oh my goodness. Yeah, 3 wide works here. 4 wide, it's tough. Can make it work, but it's difficult to do. And right here, as you're going to see the 68, Devin Machino looks up to the top. So they've got a run on the 69. I'm not sure if he was loose, just slow, or if he had a checkup in front. But either way, so he gets 3 wide. Now he's going to get put 4 wide. Some contact off of John Lynch into the left front. He's okay there, though. Does Keith Prince get a shot? You see the 4. Oh, no. That's going to be actually the 4 of Patrick Hernandez that just either trying to squeeze into that gap or maybe checks up right as he gets to Keith Prince here. But either way, notice he goes up the racetrack, and he's going to get into the left rear of the 69 machine of Gregory Bloom, and that just sends him around. Not really much more to that one. Nothing he could do, nothing Keith Prince could do. There's the contact. They both go spinning through the grass. And they both ultimately keep those race cars from getting much, if any, damage. And for the most part, they actually keep them off the racetrack, but still drew the caution either way. And it's certainly going to have an effect on the way this stage ends. Give you one more look at this here. All the way back from where it started, from TV3. And watch for a great big run. This car's stall out in front. There's the contact, and out she goes. I'll tell you what, spinning through the grass is never a good feeling, but it's a lot better than getting right hooked back up the racetrack, because now they don't have to worry about potentially burning those fast repairs. So that's obviously something you want to try to always avoid until you get to the latter stages of a race. By the way, we do have a few driver cams here tonight that I was waiting for a chance to get around to, so we'll go ahead and look at that now, as John Lynch is your current race leader, and he is also one of the drivers carrying an onboard view for us here tonight, the driver out of Yulee, Florida. There is John Lynch. He's got the Spino Design sponsor on the wheel there. And right now, feeling pretty comfortable out in front. He will take the stage win. And so some extra bonus points right there for John Lynch. Nice strategy call there. And then if we go a little bit further back in the 8th spot, last week's winner, Chris Cornett, currently sits, again, up 13 spots from where he started this race at. The driver out of Rome, Georgia. Going to put down a good run here tonight in that 88 machine. Last but certainly not least, one of the driver cams we had here tonight was Dustin Rogerson. Unfortunately, though, his driver cam is showing up as really, really small for us right now. I'm not sure why. And there we go. That's as big as I can make it. But again, that is Dustin Rogerson. As I looked over, and it looks like Chris Cornett did give a little bit of a wave to the driver cam. We missed it. Chris, if you're listening, I'll pull you back up later. Nonetheless, though, so far so good for the top 5 at this point. And as we go back up front now and get ready for this restart, John Lynch, he may be a sitting duck right here. These guys may be flying around him in the course of the next lap or two. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Sean Wilder on the outside. Ronald Losey back in 3rd. In the 4th spot right now, you've got John Ross, Justin Parham 5th. And there's Chris Cornett rounding out row number 3. Stage 1 complete. Stage 2 going to be at the conclusion of lap 70. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 26 laps complete at Kansas, and it's a great restart for the 31 of John Lynch, but he gets matched by the 91 of Sean Wilder. They stay 2 by 2 as they work through turn 1 and 2. Sean Wilder going to try to see if he can stick with them, but he can't do it. Inside prevails on the opening lap through turns 1 and 2. And further back, watch this battle right here. The 88 of Chris Cornett on the outside, trying to get some grip early. The 19 of Parham just behind. And they're both on the outside of Ronald Losey, who still has some damage on the left rear, or excuse me, the left side door of that race car. But it doesn't seem to be hurting him too bad, although he is going to have to give that position up, looks like. And now he gets into the outside wall. Man, trouble continues for that 5 car. Here's a mess of race cars as Ryan Gomes has to check up off the corner for Nathan Brzozowski. And the 29 on the bottom, Matthew Fritz, trying to make his way forward. Beautiful looking paint scheme with the M&M Pet Sitting sponsorship on board of his Chevy Camaro. He gets alongside Chase Greer. I know those two were former teammates. Be interesting to see if they're still current teammates. But how about your biggest mover still in the field, Sean Wilder? I'm impressed. I'll tell you, I am, with both him and John Lynch staying as far towards the front as they are. They may have played some strategy at the end of the last stage when we got that caution. In fact, I believe that's what they did. Yep, that's exactly what it is. So they took tires before that restart, or before the final restart in the stage, I should say, under that first caution. So that's what got these two to the lead, and that's why they're able to maintain it relatively well. Obviously, clean air, a big advantage to have when you go to any mile-and-a-half racetrack. John Lynch taking full advantage of it right now, and that's Star Mountain Outfitters. Paint scheme for his Chevy Camaro. So you've got a Chevy leading a Ford, followed by another Ford, and then it's a bunch of Chevys rounding out your top 10. Back to some 2-wide action. How about Josh Freed? I mean, it has been a chaotic night, to say the least, for the driver of the number 39 car. Had that early incident, no caution, then got involved in some more contact. That second incident did bring out the caution, and now all of a sudden the driver out of Philadelphia finds himself back up to the 11th position, now only down 2 spots from where he started this race at. So again, good recovery up to this point for Josh Freed. Ryan Gomes in the 55 back in 14th. Nathan Brzozowski currently sits in 15th. You've got Jim Treat 16th. Dustin Rogerson currently back in 17th. He is trying to make up some ground, as Nancy Hickok says they indeed are still teammates. Chase Greer, Matthew Fritz on Venom Racing. And so there is your answer. Beautiful looking paint scheme, by the way, for Dustin Rogerson as well. There's your Daytona winner, Devin Bacchino, currently sitting back in the 19th position. And he is trying to work to the inside here of Patrick Hernandez, who's blinking around just a little bit. Gregory Bloomer in 20th. You've got Tommy Polt 21st. Joey Hickox 22nd. There's Keith Prince back in 23rd. Joe Hudson at 24th. And Brian Wertman in 25th. Well, no drivers have had to retire from the race yet. That's always a good sign, even though we're only about a fifth of the way through. Certainly always a good thing when all the drivers that started are still running, and nobody has fallen a lap down yet either. And it takes a while to catch lap cars here, but this stage is long enough that we could see a few things. First off, we could maybe see some lap traffic, and second off, we could maybe see a green flag pit stop. It'd be your first one of the night, if so. Now, I said that the stage ends here on lap 70. Do the math on that, you figure that's about 45 laps that these drivers are going to have to run here under green flag conditions at 75% fuel. Now, the Cup cars do hold more than the trucks, but I don't think that they're quite going to be able to stretch that 75% fuel, unless maybe if you saved a ton. I still don't think that would really work out. So it'll be interesting to see here if we maybe get to see our first green flag pit stop here in stage number 2, and then obviously stage 3, which is going to be 80 laps. We'll have an opportunity to see green flag stops there as well. Ryan Gomes now on the inside of the racetrack trying to get by Brzozowski. And the 29, Matthew Fritz, slots up. He is up 4 spots from where he started this race at. And for Sean Wilder, who is now falling back to 5th, still doing a good job holding on the best he can with the tires that he's got to work with. Parham and Redinger, 2 former, and again, I would assume current teammates, currently sitting 3rd and 4th, just behind John Ross, the fastest car of the night, arguably, who is now trying to chase down your current leader, the 31 of John Lynch. The 44, he's going to get there, and he's going to get there pretty quick. In fact, the time delta just over the course of the last few laps has shrunk dramatically. You see it there, that constant slope down. 5 laps ago, it was about 0.6 of a second. And this lap now down to under 0.3 of a second. So he's clicking off some pretty fast lap times right now. By the way, track temp, give you another look at the stats for the weather here tonight. 73 degrees with partly cloudy skies, and in the sim, it is now currently right about 8, almost 9 o'clock. So the sun has just about completely set here in Kansas. And so the bright lights are on. And you notice with that track temp being at 73, that means that grip's going to be a little bit better here tonight than it otherwise would. We've already seen that here tonight, but cars have been getting tight off of 4 as the run goes on. So it'd be interesting to see if we do get a long run here tonight, one to where we're at the end of a tire run, do certain guys start to struggle, and do we start to see a caution at a certain point of laps? If guys can't quite hold on to their race cars anymore. Well, John Lynch getting ready to be passed by John Ross, the John and John show up front. And for Ross, there he goes to the inside, 190 miles an hour. As he dives down into turn 3, he's going to try a bit of a slide job here, maybe, if he feels like he can make it stick, and he does. John Lynch with some momentum behind, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough to try to cross him back. He'll do it anyway, though. John Lynch says he's going to fight for it. Back to the inside. Can he beat him down to the bottom? No, in fact, he gets tight. John Lynch has to get out of the throttle as he got into the 44. Watch out now. That opens the door for Kenneth Redinger, who's going to look to the bottom. Redinger with a big side draft on John Lynch down into the corner. He's going to try the same move that John Ross pulled on the 31. He gets clear, slides up, and that now moves him up to the 2nd spot. Redinger up 10 positions from where he started this race from. 2nd biggest mover in the top 10. Still a big mess of cars back here, right around where Matthew Fritz is running, just to his inside. Looks like he's got the 12 of Todd Merkel. Jim Treat there as well. Nathan Rozazowski, Ryan Gomes. All right now fighting for that 12th position. Chase Greer trying to separate himself from that group. Josh Freed and Kerry Klein going at it in the 11 and 39 machine. And still no give on any of these battles just yet. 40 of 150 laps complete. John Ross has taken over the lead at Kansas. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us in the Flatwoods 225.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's on!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway with the Flatwoods 225 for the NOMA Cup Series. Well, we had one car in the grass right as we were coming back from break, and it was the 19 machine of Justin Parham. And I have a feeling I know how this starts. This is going to be coming off turn 4, just getting a little tight either into the wall or getting a little loose. Let's find out. So he's running up top. That's the 39 of Josh Freed on the bottom. And if we watch it from the chopper view, Parham up the racetrack, and yep, car just gets tight. Saw the fire out of the pipes, was trying to lift, but just a little too late. The 19 got into the wall, and as he came down, Josh Freed was there. Obviously know where he could go at that point. Give you one more look at it here. That's a tough... By the way, we also had a car retire from the race here. Nathan Brzezinski, not sure what his issue was. But again, he has retired from the race at the moment. Meanwhile, back up front, John Ross still is your race leader, as we are just about at the 1/3 mark of this race. 48, going to be 49. 150 laps complete as they cross the stripe this time by. So again, John Ross, Kenneth Redinger currently 1 and 2, and they have gapped the rest of the field. The next closest car, Jay Stinson, the last man on the podium right now, is over 2.5 seconds back. Now, obviously, he's trying to get away from this group and maybe able to track him down a little bit. Whoa, trouble, the 91, Sean Wilder, down on the apron. He's going to come back up into the outside wall. He goes, no caution yet. Do we stay green? Everybody trying to avoid him, and now the caution will come out. Man, that was a scary, scary amount of time before the caution was thrown there. With the damaged race car coming down the racetrack, I thought for sure he was going to get clobbered. Thankfully, he never did, but obviously some right front damage to his Ford Mustang that he's going to have to go in and get looked at for potential repairs. And there you see it for Sean Wilder as he crosses the stripe. So this will be officially now 1/3 of the race complete before we get back under green flag conditions. Now for Wilder here, he had still been trying to defend on relatively older tires compared to the rest of the field, was doing a heck of a job at it. But going down the front stretch here, he's going to get into it with, and let's see exactly who this was. That's the 88 of Chris Cornett. And as they're going down the front stretch, you see the 91 up top? Cornett starts to come up. I think Cornett is expecting that the 91's a little bit higher. That's my only guess, unless he just didn't realize the 91 was there or thought he was going to be slotting in line behind him. But from that view, I mean, you can definitely see the 91 is working up the racetrack, and the 88 just drives up a little bit quicker, gets into his left rear. Nothing Wilder can do. He's not ready for it. Now they're hooked together. Initially, the 88 of Cornett, he actually does save it, but then you can see the 91 gets kind of pushed off of his nose, shot back up the racetrack, and when he does, that's where some of these big hits land for both Wilder, and I think it was the 11 who he collects right here. Yeah, that's a big hit for the 11 as well, and that's going to have to be some damage fixed for probably both of those race cars, but the 11, by the way, who was having a pretty solid run here tonight, still sitting up in the top 10. That's Kerry Klein. So it'll be interesting to see how that all sorts out. Give you one more look at this here, or a couple more rather, before we go back live. I want to see if I can get a better angle of this. All right, there you go. There's the contact. Now, what I do wonder is there may have been just a little bit of netcode between these two right there. They're not actually making contact. They get really close, but I think the Cornett was going to hit him either way. That slight contact. Very, very interesting right there. And as he goes back up, there's the contact. Sends him up into the outside wall. And then eventually comes back down. Lucky right there that nobody else got collected at that time. As he slides back up in front of the 5 machine. Continues on without issue. Nancy Hickok says, am I the only one that has Austin in and out? Picture is fine. Speaker is the problem. Well, that's a good question, Nancy. I will see if I can figure that out. Was it only an issue under caution when I was showing replays, or was it an issue while I was actually live during the green flag? And yes, if anybody else watching could let me know if everything sounds and looks okay, or if you are having an issue as well, so that I can try to address it. Not showing any problems on my end, but again, may very well be. Nonetheless, we'll try to continue on for now, as up front, 52 of 150 laps complete. You've got Dustin Rogerson now being scored as your leader for the first time here tonight. He is up 17 spots from where he started this race at. Tommy Polt second, John Ross in third, John Lynch in fourth, and Joe Hudson currently rounding out your top 5. All right, lights are off on the pace car. That means we're going green this time, and it is now officially under 20 laps to go. In fact, it's going to be exactly, it looks like 17 or 18 laps to go in stage 2 as we grab the green flag. What can Dustin Rogerson and Tommy Polt do out in front? Let's find out. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. It's a big jump. Dustin Rogerson on the outside. He is going to get clear and by plenty. John Ross follows him through, and it's Tommy Polt sliding into that 3rd spot, but he may not hold on to it for too long. John Lynch goes to the inside. Here comes the 29. Look at the speed difference between new tire and old tire. He is getting eaten up right now. So out back, was that Merkel that got hit? Caution is out. Oh man, big hit for the 88, Chris Cornett. We just saw involved in that last incident, but he didn't get any damage. This time he does. See if we can figure out exactly what went wrong for the 88. You see some damage there on the left front. I wonder about how the right front's looking. Looks like the right front's okay. Most of that damage contained to the left front. So Cornick gonna have to go in here and get some repairs. Not the way he wanted things to go here. Just a third of the way through this race. Alright, well, let's go back and look at it here. See if we can figure out exactly where it all goes wrong on the backstretch. We saw contact for a few different drivers here, so let's zoom this out first off and show you all the different contact that occurred in it. It starts a little bit further up. You're going to actually see the 12. That's what I was just getting ready to say before the caution of Todd Merkel. He's coming off the corner here, and the 3 is just loose. That's Joey Hickox. Joey's loose. He's trying to save it, but right as he gets off the corner, just car starts to come down. He does save it, but in the process of doing that, gets into the 12 of Todd Merkel. That sends Merkel off. He saves it. So no issues there. But then back here right around where Chris Corner was running, it looked like these guys may have been 3 wide, and he gets tangled up. Let's see. That's the 1 of Keith Prince and the 91 of Sean Lauder. The 91 goes high. They get 3 wide, and then, does Cornet get down into the 91 maybe? And that sends him down the racetrack and into Keith Prince. And that's going to turn Prince up the racetrack. He clips Cornet, and Keith Prince gets a pretty heavy hit into the outside wall, and then Cornet right here. Pretty hard hit right there as well off the outside safer barrier, where he ultimately rolls down the racetrack to a halt. Let's go back and look at this from a different angle. This is TV1. Let's see. Does it look like the 88 comes down? Well, he may have been coming down a little bit. At the same time, it looked like the 91 of Sean Wilder maybe came up just a little bit as well. And the contact occurred after that. One more angle of this before we look at the TV views again. Watch it one more time from the chopper view. You be the judge. So right there, Sean Wilder's got his right sides below the seam. The 88's above the seam. And then now you see Wilder starting to come above the seam, but it looks like maybe the 88 of Cornet creeping out ever so slightly. It's not much from either one. Maybe a little bit more. Actually, no, I can't tell. It's too close. But either way, the point is they both moved a little bit. It's 3 wide, it's tight quarters, some contact, and it ultimately leads to an unfortunate incident that they both find themselves involved in. For Cornet, almost kept it out of the wall, but couldn't quite get it swapped around. before hitting the wall. All right, so as we go back live now, up front, it is John Ross being scored as your leader as the lights on the pace car are off. Dustin Rogerson second. Matthew Fritz is in third. And you've got John Lynch in fourth. Tommy Polt rounding out your top 5. And so it'll be under 15 laps to go now until the end of stage number 2 as we get ready for the restart here. And I think John Lynch all of a sudden has put himself right back into contention of one of the fastest cars this race by flipping the strategy in stage 1, getting himself out in front, and now trying to somewhat match up. We'll have to see what happens here. As Nancy says, it's me, Austin, because my phone is not fading in and out. I'm going to reset the tablet. Sounds good, Nancy. Appreciate the update. All right. So 4 cautions so far tonight. See if these guys can go green here for the rest of the stage. Back into the Geico restart zone we go. Green flag is back in the air. 13 laps to go in stage number 2. Right away, John Ross gets out to about a 5 to 6 car length gap by the time they're down into turn number 1 and off of turn number 2. Rest of the field playing chase. The 31 of John Lynch, 3 wide on the inside. The 23, Dustin Rogerson stuck in the middle, nowhere to go. The 8 of Chase Greer is going to sneak by up top. Here comes the 39, Josh Freed on the bottom. Oh, trouble out back. We got multiple cars into the outside wall. Big hits. Caution back out. The 3 of Joey Hickox is in it. Looks like the 81 of Jim Treat is also involved. Joey Hickox, major damage to the front nose of his Chevy Camaro. We'll see if he's able to get this thing back rolling. Looks like he is able to get it at least refired. And so he will get back rolling. He'll drive to the pits for some much needed repairs to the front nose, as you know, these restarts are starting to get a little bit more tedious here with drivers showing a lot of aggression, guys struggling for handling on cold tires, and it continues to show just how tough it is here at Kansas on these restarts with a track that can race this many different lines. So here you go. Watch the 81 Jim Treat further up, washing up the racetrack, washing up in front of Hickox, and just gets tight into the outside wall. And as he hits the outside wall, nowhere to really go for Joey. That causes a checkup and obviously gets Joey turned around. And then Joey's going to get tagged right there by the 91 of Sean Wilder, who had nowhere to go. Those two take a pretty good shot, as does the 81. And there might have been one more car just in front that takes a hit, or does the 4 just sneak by? Ooh, the 4 just sneaks by there, but oh man, in the back end of it, looks like the 69 of Gregory Bloomer gets into it. You know, this could have been worse, but it's still a really, really tough break for some of the drivers that are trying to make their way to the front. Now either going to have to try it again and know that they don't have a fast repair, or might be stuck back here as lap traffic, or not lap traffic, but just traffic in general has been really tough to navigate through here tonight. So that was the view for Joey Hickox. Let's go back up here and look at the view for one of these other drivers involved. In fact, I want to go up to the driver who got through the initial incident, but then unfortunately got caught in kind of a byproduct of it, if you will, here, and that is Gregory Bloomer Jr. There's contact up top, goes down, and some slight contact leads to some major contact. Saw the sparks out of the back. Big, big hit for Gregory Bloomer Jr. One more view here from TV3. There's the contact down the racetrack. Sparks fly, and a bunch of drivers getting involved in this one here. Sean Wilder, Joey Hickox, there's their big hit. And then it continues up. Patrick Hernandez was the 4 car, by the way. Not quite able to avoid it either. I wonder if we have a pretty good pit lane view of this. Looks like we do. Some big time hits in what is now your 5th caution of the night. And so we will try another restart now inside 10 laps to go here in stage number 2. Lights are back off on the pace car, so we are going green this time around up front. Matthew Fritz now finds himself on the front row alongside John Ross. You've got Kenneth Redinger and John Lynch back in row 2. Chase Greer and Josh Freed in row 3. Matthew Fritz definitely looking to see if he can maybe capture a few stage points here. Again, I know it's early in the season, but Seems like every season you're talking about the same thing. At the end of the season, it comes down to a couple points. And you talk about all the drivers that had stage points, and that being what helps get them through to that first round of the playoffs, the second round, whatever it may be. And as points stand now, Matthew Fritz currently 4th in the point standings after last week, so trying to see if he can keep himself in that top 5 with a good run here tonight. Can he hold on for the stage? Let's see. John Ross, though, going to be a tough car to pass. Green flag back in the air, and it's a good restart again for the 44 machine on the outside. He leads everybody down towards turn number 1, 2x2 out back. You see Ryan Gomes slot up to the top. Oh, watch out. Fritz, hold on to it. Matthew Fritz getting tagged, trying to save it. Drifts, finally going to go down to the apron, but what a save by Matthew Fritz. Gets it out of traffic and holds on. The driver out of Middletown is going to merge back onto the racetrack, lose all of his track position, but he keeps the race car as a product. Watch this. Go all the way back to where this starts in turn 1, just getting loose. Trying to get as much as he can right here, and car's just starting to step out on him, stepping out, still stepping out. Finally, it drives down to the apron and lets him straighten it out, but we have seen that a lot here tonight on these restarts. Tough break for Fritz, but for John Ross, that's exactly what he wanted to see. Second place car, stacking everybody else up. He now has a half a second lead on a second place John Lynch. Further back, these guys have not calmed down at all on these restarts, even with some of the incidents that we have seen here tonight. You still see 2x2, Todd Merkel in the 12 trying to go forward. On his outside is the 88 Chris Cornett, also trying to recover after being involved in a few incidents. Man, big wiggle right there by Patrick Hernandez. He also is going to hold on. Tommy Polt 17th, Dustin Rogerson 18th, Jim Treat 19th, and Matthew Fritz rounding out your top 20. Joey Hickox 22nd, Keith Prince 23rd, and by the way, we have now had a second car currently retired from the race as of now, and that is Gregory Bloomer Jr. So a tough break for him puts us down to now 23 cars still out on the racetrack, 22 currently on the lead lap. Well, John Lynch has not been able to catch him. He's not really letting him go too quickly either. But at the pace things are going, unless we get another caution, and we'd have to get it soon, I think that this stage is pretty much all but John Ross's to win. And everybody single filing out now for the rest of the top 10 positions. Justin Parham back in 11, trying to recover after he was involved in an earlier incident. He didn't get damage from it, but certainly lost some track position. And we just had a car go off there. The Ford Patrick Hernandez blinked out. Quickly blinks back in, and so we continue on there. And for John Ross now, he has actually lost a 10th, so maybe John Lynch has found a little something here. Just 3 or 4 laps to go on the stage. And John Ross, 3.7 tenths out in front right now. That is not much, less than half a second. John Lynch seems to be maybe tracking him down here. On the outside, he's running in the wake of that 44, but when tires are relatively even, it kind of equals out, and that draft is your best friend down these straightaways, but still don't know if he's quite close enough. There you see John Lynch in real time on the bottom right of your screen, trying to go chase down the leader. Taking a little bit lower of a line to the corner, trying to get some clean air on the nose of his race car. But man, I think with John Ross up top, it's just going to be too tough of a pass to make, even if you do get to him. And so as they cross the line this time, 3 laps to go here in stage number 2. 44 is going to try to hold on the rest of the way. And by the way, I don't remember exactly if these guys throw the caution on the lap of the stage or the completion of the lap marked as the stage. I would assume it's the completion of, but we'll know for sure based off if we get the caution on lap 70 or after lap 70 is complete. So just keep that in mind. It'll be 69 of 150 laps complete now for John Ross as he crosses the line this time around. So the 44 has been looking bad fast all night so far. But I do think John Lynch, if these two can stay on relatively even strategies the rest of the race, may have something for John Ross if he can stay as close as he has here for the remainder of this stage. How about Jay Stinson now scooting back up into third, that final podium position. He's trying to fend off Kenneth Redinger for fourth. Well, unless this itself is going to be the stage break, which we'll find out momentarily, then we would have 1 lap to go now here in stage number 2. John Ross still out in front. John Lynch in second. And I'm not seeing a caution yet here. As, oh, did John Lynch maybe go to the outside wall? No, he just blinked out briefly. He's blinked back in 0.3 of a second. Final time through 3 and 4 here in stage number 2. And doesn't look like anybody's going to have anything for him. John Ross will take stage 2 here at Kansas. I would argue that he would have took stage 1 as well had it not come down to a late caution. And there is that scheduled caution to show the conclusion of stage 2. John Lynch takes second in the stage, and it's Jay Stinson who rounds out the podium. Well, everybody going to come in for 4 tires and fuel to get the full service and set up for that daunting final, almost 80-lap stage, actually over 80-lap stage, which we will have when we come back. Going to take a quick break. Stick with us here on PGR eSports.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created
Our own drink company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time! Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by 3.
Almost all trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to the Flatwoods 225 here at Kansas Speedway for the NOMA Cup Series. If you're just tuning in or if you've been tuning in, we appreciate you hanging with us here on PGR eSports. It's been a great night of racing so far. 2 stages complete. Your stage 1 winner was John Lynch. Stage 2 winner, the 44 of John Ross. And we got 1 stage to go here. And it looks like going to be exactly 86 laps to decide it. Actually, I take that back. Looks like it's going to be 76 laps, pardon me. And so as it stands right now, the 44 car has been, I mean, he's been putting on a clinic. He has by far been the dominant car. Nobody's had anything for him yet, but John Lynch was maybe the closest to it so far. Let's see if Redinger has anything to say about it, starting on the front row alongside him. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. The final stage is underway at Kansas, and it's a great restart. But a 44 of John Ross, he has been money on the restarts all night. And Redinger may not even be able to keep second here as a result. John Lynch has the preferred lane if he can hold even until they get to the backstretch here. Will he? Yes, he does. Redinger going to go up, try to side draft. Not enough. John Lynch is able to get clear. He will take that second spot. And now Redinger forced to go back to the bottom. Oh, John Lynch blows the corner, gets into the outside wall, but he still has enough speed to stay in front of Redinger. Man, we got cars getting into the wall all over the place. But it looks like everybody's still going to keep it together, at least for the most part here. Oh, my goodness. Well, we knew the restarts were going to be crazy all night, and they just keep getting crazier and crazier with each one that we get. 76 now of 150 laps complete. And, man, John Lynch trying a bit of a different go about it this time. He is going ultra aggression, and, oh, man, gets into the outside wall again. Lynch is, I think, trying to be extra aggressive here to see if he can get around that 44 car and get the clean air and try to play defense, as that may be the only strategy that works against John Ross tonight, but he can't do it. Now he's got Redinger alongside, and Redinger's got the preferred lane. So Kenneth Redinger takes that spot. He'll shift back to second. The 2 of Jay Stinson now makes his way up to fourth. The 49 of Joe Hudson currently back in fifth. Chase Greer 6th. Chris Cornett in 7th. With Patrick Hernandez 8th, Ryan Gomes in 9th, and Justin Parham currently rounding out your top 10. John Ross, though, he's got a lot of pressure out back. I mean, you wonder what it looks like kind of as a driver. This is pretty much, well, this is the World War view out front, but this is how it feels as a driver, is this gearbox view right here, where you just feel like that guy is right on your back bumper, and you don't have a lot of room to work with. Now, that's John Lynch, because guess who's on his inside? Kenneth Redinger trying to see if he can pull a slide job here off the corner. Can't quite do it, but what he does do is draw even, stays alongside, but he can't quite get the side draft yet. Now he's got it down into turn 1. Redinger trying to stay even, but he's just maybe a little too high up the racetrack. I'd be shocked if he holds even here, because John Lynch has a great big run, and he is going to push that 44 right back out in front and take over that second spot in the process. And by the way, we didn't get an opportunity to see a green flag stop in that second stage. So the first opportunity may very well be, well, it will be, if assuming we stay green long enough, here in the third stage. I would assume these guys can only make it somewhere, if I had to guess, maybe right around 45-ish laps on fuel. That would be my general guess. At 75% fuel, 40 to 45. And that is not enough to make it all the way. You'll have to stop at least once, potentially twice. I think we'll know more about that based off the lap number that these guys make their first pit stop at. But about single filing out now all of a sudden. Further back, the last 2x2 we had was Chris Cornett and Chase Greer. But it looks like they're trying to get it sorted out here. Cornett on the inside. He will take that spot. And he will slide up off the corner, assumingly. Hesitates, doesn't do it. Instead, lets Chase Greer get the great big run. And Chase will get that spot right back now. Patrick Hernandez, he'll try to do the same. See if he can sneak to the outside. The 19 of Justin Parham still back there as well. There's the 55 of Ryan Gomes. The 12 up top, Todd Merkel. Matthew Fritz. And then this is where it gets messy. Joey Hickok's on back. He's racing alongside Sean Wilder. Just behind them, you've got Tommy Polt and Devin Bacino going at it. This is a really good 4-car race, but you saw the 91 of Wilder getting to the wall. That checked him up, and that checked the 26 up. So Tommy Polt has to give up that spot now to Devin Bacino. Wilder, though, does get a run back on the outside, so he'll get clear Bacino into the corner. Bacino, though, gets him right back. There's the 23, Dustin Rogerson. He has been all over the field here tonight. In the back, in the front, and everywhere in between. But right now, trying to make his way back towards the front. Well, Redinger got that lead. And now, John Ross, for the first time here tonight, really playing chase. He had to chase down John Lynch earlier, but had fresher tires, so it really didn't feel like it. Now it feels like he is in that questionable spot of, is your car good enough to go try to chase down the leader, Kenneth Redinger, who now has clean air for the first time tonight. And he has already won a few NOMA championships, so he knows how to get the job done, regardless of what kind of car or series we're in. See if he can make it happen again here tonight. And once we get to that lap 100 mark, that's the point at where it starts to feel like we're getting to that last stint of the race. Obviously, that'll be 2/3 of the way through, but 50 laps to go. You'll be closing in slowly but surely on that fuel window, and it'll be very interesting to see how things kind of change from there. Now, by the way, I did want to show everybody what the schedule is looking like for the NOMA guys the rest of the season, just in case you're curious. And so here's what we got. Next week, these guys are going to head off to Kentucky. That'll be another 1.5 miles, but it'll drive completely different than Kansas. After that, it's off to Nashville Super Speedway, followed by Texas, then a road course in Watkins Glen. They'll head to Darlington on May 24th. And then after that, looks like they're going to head off to Michigan, followed by Dover, then Pocono before the next Super Speedway in Talladega. A lot of drivers going to be looking forward to that one. They're going to do the double race at Charlotte and Indy. That'll be a fun event. And then the playoffs kick off at Daytona International Speedway, followed by a short track in Bristol, then back to a big oval in Auto Club. Round of 12 is going to be Kentucky again, followed by Chicagoland and Texas again. After that, these guys will head back to Kansas. So good idea to get some notes in the books here tonight to know what to expect for that race. It's off to Las Vegas and then Old Atlanta for the final race before the championship. And for the championship forward, these guys are going to head back to Homestead, Miami for 160 laps under the lights. All right. As we go back live now on the track, it looks like Kenneth Redinger has actually stretched his lead here just a little bit. Now has it up to almost a second. On second place, John Ross, who has a little bit of distance now between himself and Joe Hudson. And this is a great late run showing now for Joe Hudson, who's made his way through the field. He's up 13 spots from where he started this race at in that third position. Jay Stinson currently in fourth. And you've got John Lynch in fifth, Chris Cornett in sixth, Patrick Hernandez back in seventh, Josh Freed eighth, Justin Parham in ninth, and Ryan Gomes rounding out your top 10. 2x2 as they run at the moment back here, the 55 of Ryan Gomes. The last one in single file formation. Joey Hickox leading the next group. He's in 12th, now up 11 spots from where he started this race at. Has a teammate in Chase Greer just behind him. By the way, you noticed Joey Hickox and teammate Jay Stinson both rocking the Flatwoods paint schemes here tonight. Of course, Flatwoods sponsor of the race here tonight. And it is the Flatwoods 225. So again, shout out to them for everything that they do. They've been around with NOMA for quite a while, as all the NOMA sponsors have been. And just a few of the ones to give a shout out to here tonight. Blue Ridge Auto Group, of course, Flatwood, the sponsor of tonight's race. M&M Pet Sitting. And that is, I believe, a direct relationship to Matthew Fritz. That's why you always see him running that paint scheme. Abingdon Collision and Towing. And I'm not sure if they're a title sponsor this season. But either way, they've been around now for a couple seasons. And then last, but certainly not least, two of the ones that we had sitting on the sides. First off, MOZA Racing. They've also been with NOMA for a pretty fair amount of time. And I feel like I'm missing one, as these guys seem to bring in so many sponsors each year. I'm trying to think of who I would have been missing. I don't think we missed anyone. Oh, I know who I missed. And there it is, actually. It just popped up. How ironic. H&H Tractor Work. Another sponsor that has been with NOMA for quite a while, maybe even since day one. So again, thank you on behalf of NOMA to all the sponsors that help make everything possible for them. As 91 of 150 laps complete. And it is still all Kenneth Redinger up front. John Ross in second. Hudson, though, now under fire from Jay Stinson, who wants that third spot back. And he tries to take it. Oh, but he gets tight coming off the corner. Man, he had to lift out of the throttle. That cost him all sorts of time. And now he falls back in line. Now, this is what you got to be careful of. Any of these 1.5 mile tracks where tire wear is a concern, whenever you try to make a pass, the more times you fail it, the harder it's going to be to make it, because you're burning those Goodyear tires up every single time you try to do it. So if you're Stinson here, you really got to try to set this move up and get it in the next couple goes. You don't want to keep fighting with this 49 for too long. Otherwise, you're going to use your stuff up, and it doesn't matter how fast you've been all night. If you burn your tires up early, you are going to be a sitting duck late. Into turn one, Stinson was able to close the gap just a little bit. Chris Cornett, by the way, now up to that 5th spot. So he is slowly but surely making his way to the front as, whoa, Big crossover here from John Lynch as Cornet jumped right in front of him. John Lynch, though, nothing to show for it. Besides maybe a little bit of displeasure. Josh Freed back in 7th. There's Patrick Hernandez. Good recovery for him. And Ryan Gomes. I haven't had a chance to see him all season, but just from what I've seen tonight, very, very consistent for the driver out of Arcata, California. We'll see if he can keep this kind of consistency up the rest of the race and for the rest of the season, but I mean, Ryan Gomes has been on fire so far here tonight, consistency-wise. I don't know if we've named him outside of the top 10 yet. We have. Certainly has not been too often. And again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You're watching the NOMA Cup Series, Flatwoods 225 here at Kansas Speedway. Kenneth Redinger is your race leader, and in the same camera view right there, you can see John Ross currently about 1.2 seconds back. Now, obviously, I wonder which of these two is saving more tire. Is maybe Ross kind of sandbagging all of us, even up here in the booth, and just taking it easy, saving tire, and waiting for Kenneth Redinger to fade back to him? Or has Redinger really found that spark here tonight? The only spark that's been able to hold anything to what the 44 had, at least throughout the first two stages. And I'm going to say, based off of what I saw right there, that John Ross can't be saving too much tire. You saw him get up and into the outside wall. He was able to gather it back up quickly. Doesn't really lose much ground, but still over a second behind your race leader, Joe Hudson, currently in that 3rd spot, and he's not really got too much of a battle to worry about either. A little bit of a gap between him and Stinson, and then between Stinson and Chris Cornett, at least at the moment. The next closest battle right here is between Josh Freed and John Lynch, who ran bumper to bumper there momentarily. A few spots back, Matthew Fritz tried to set up a pass on the inside, didn't work, and now he's under fire from the 4 of Patrick Hernandez. And if you're Redinger here, I mean, he's running about as smooth as you can. In fact, we'll pull up the dashboard here and show you what a lap around Kansas looks like from the cockpit view. And for Redinger, you hear just rolling out of the throttle early in the corner, doesn't want to burn his stuff up too much, and then pretty much trying to keep the left side tires painted onto that outermost seam. That's as close as he wants to get to the wall, at least for now, through 3 and 4. And it looks like through 1 and 2, he's going to do more of the same. You kind of use that seam as a guide for that top lane, as gets a little tight, though, on exit. And it's so interesting here. You got to kind of commit to the exit. If all of a sudden you get tight, you know you're going into the wall. But just the way the track races, you have to kind of commit to it anyway. One of the things that makes Kansas such a technical racetrack, even though it is 1.5 miles in length. And as soon as that draft breaks down, once the tires wear out, it is all about who can find the fastest way around. And so far, again, that is Kenneth Redinger. Looking at track temp, still at 73 degrees as we are now, it looks like at about 10 o'clock sim time. So we are now well into the dark. The bright lights on here at virtual Kansas Speedway. A little bit further back in the pack here, Devin Bacino now up to 10th, making his way through the field. He's up 3 spots from where he started this race at. And so for Devin here, maybe focused on trying to make sure he's got a fast car for the long run, and it's working out pretty well. Now, I do want to say, you probably heard me mention a lot tonight about guys having better cars for different runs, or a guy having a better car than the other. If you remember, these guys are all on the exact same setups. So if you're wondering how they get an advantage over each other, it all comes down to tire saving. Who saves the most tire while still trying to maintain the most track position? That's the constant battle. That's why you see the guys up front fight so hard for the clean air, because when you get that clean air, you're already given an advantage in being able to save tire while still running fast compared to everybody else who's running in the wake of a bunch of other race cars. So right now, Kenneth Redinger continues to try everything in his power here to maintain this lead, but I've got news. That 44 is coming quick here. John Ross has started to really close in now on Redinger. In fact, we'll show you that gap over the course of the last few laps. It was a second, 5 laps ago, now down to just about half a second. We'll see if he closes this lap or if it's maybe stretched out just a little bit. And you can see it looks like, actually, I can tell you what he did. He closed. Went from over half a second now down to about 0.4 of a second. And so I can tell you that means with confidence now, he's closing that gap, and he is closing it fast. John Ross trying to get now to Kenneth Redinger. We'll see if he can do it. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss the battle for the lead here at Kansas.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created
Uh-oh. Drink company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got paddles.
The monkey is prime!
This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost found trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. Battle for the lead is on between Kenneth Redinger and John Ross. The 44 has tracked down the 24 and now trying to complete the pass. A whole different ball game. Redinger has got the advantage. He's been playing defense on that outside line, and it is so tough to pass when you've got another driver running up there. But Ross continues to experiment. He's saved more tire than Redinger. He's just got to be careful here that he doesn't use it all up trying to get by. Going to take another look right back down to the bottom as they work into turn 3. He slides up, tries to just stay alongside. Contact. Redinger into the wall. John Ross is going to almost get collected. You could tell Ross did not want to lift right there. He tried everything he could to stay alongside. And for Redinger, you wonder how much damage that gave him in the right side, as now they separate just briefly to about 0.3 of a second. Now, while this battle takes just a brief moment, Devin Bacino has moved up to third, and he's closed into just about a second on these guys. So keep an eye on the 68 and the 2. Jay Stinson just behind Bacino. Chris Cornett in 5th. Josh Freed 6th. Ryan Gomes 7th. John Lynch 8th. Chase Greer 9th. Matthew Fritz back in 10th. And a few battles going on the racetrack here. Joey Hickox and Dustin Rogerson were going at it. Hickox here going to bring it down for his one and only service of the night with, again, less than 40 laps to go. So that fuel window is open, by the way. I do want to mention that. So these leaders, in theory, could pit at any time now. We've already seen a few guys do it towards the back of the pack. Some of those names that you see a lap down, such as Merkel, Poltz, Klein, Hernandez, Hudson, Hickox. All drivers who have made their pit stops and now waiting for the leaders to pit to get that lap back. By the way, the difference in tires here, new versus old, is massive. So I don't know. This is a tough call, but I really like where both John Ross and Devin Bacino are sitting. Bacino is tracking these two down. He's going to be there in probably the next lap or two if he continues at the rate he's going. But again, same issue that John Ross had is going to be, how do you pass these guys? Ross looking for a push? No, he'll duck low. as they cross the stripe, draws even, and he's going to really send it down into the corner here and try to slide up in front. Let's see, can he do it? Gets clear, got to slide up now, got to slide up. Is he going to do it? Yes, he does, but the 24 is going to see if he can cross him over here down the backstretch. Where will Redinger go, or does he just push him? No, looks like he just pushes him. Tries to maybe give him a little shot off into the corner to see if he could maybe make him miss the corner. But it doesn't work. Now Devin Bacino down on the inside. He is also going to pass Redinger in the span of one corner. What a move by Devin Bacino, who has now moved up to the second spot. One of the cars who it felt like kind of had mid-pack speed all night has all of a sudden found some life. Driver out of Morrisonville, New York is on the move and looking to see if he can grab the lead, as he's looking to go if he can grab his second win of the season here tonight. But winning this race, already won at Daytona. And whoa, Bacino's going to pit here. And that's exactly why he's following your leader, John Ross. So the two lead cars make a pit stop. Bacino follows him in so that he can try to match the strategy. Feels like he had better long run speed, which I would agree he did. That leaves Kenneth Redinger out. We'll see how much longer he decides to stay out compared to these two. So they pit with 35 laps to go here at Kansas. Right around where that window would be, actually, maybe about 10 laps later just to be safe. But this is going to kick off the trend for any of the drivers who haven't pit yet. I think you're going to see them all starting to make their way down the next handful of laps or so, as here goes Devin Bacino, who's going to win the race out of the pits. It's going to be a big battle. Bacino trying to close, but it's going to be the 44 rather, that wins the race out. And Ross may have actually gapped Bacino a little bit there on pit road. We'll have to see if Bacino can hold relatively even here as they work back up to speed. And I believe that he will. So now the chase is on between the front two. What will be the front two when things cycle out. Kenneth Redinger, though, continues to stay out on the racetrack, drafting with the 91 of Sean Wilder, who's going to get one of his laps back. And as it stands, Josh Freed in second, John Lynch third, Matthew Fritz fourth. And looks like we had another pit stop here. Jay Stinson has brought it down, and he's going to get followed by at least one of his teammates. Chase Greer already went in. Dustin Rogerson now making his way out of the pits. And so far, for everybody to call, has been 4 tires and fuel, and it looks like it's going to stay that way for the rest of the field. Stinson here trying to see if he can get all 4 before he goes. And sure enough, there you go. So Jay Stinson will still make it out ahead of Ryan Gomes. Those two, I don't believe, are fourth position anyway at the moment. And yeah, Patrick Hernandez, the next closest car. He will get around Stinson for the moment. Matthew Fritz, and there is Kenneth Redinger, now in his pit box for service as well. So Redinger decided to pit about 3 to 4 laps after the leader's pit. So this will be interesting. Now, here's how this works. Redinger is going to be behind both of the guys that pit before him, and of course that being John Ross and Devin Bacino, but he's going to have fresher tires, so at the end of the run, at least in theory, he should be able to be on offense while these two are going to have to play defense. Again, that is in theory. We'll have to see if it actually plays out that way or not. Either way, it'll be 120 of 150 laps complete as they cross the line this time, winding down on the end of the Flatwoods 225. That'll mark 30 laps to go when we cross that mark. As here comes John Lynch into the pits. I'm going to try to follow him in here, and he'll do just that. That'll hand the lead over to Ronald Losey, and he will get his first lap led of the night. By the way, if you're looking for more action on PGR eSports, tomorrow night, the McCullough Motorsports Money Racing Big Dog Little Dog Series will be back in action as caution. Caution is out. The bigger question, for what? Who had the issue here? Josh Freed. Trouble coming out of the pits. I don't know if this was coming out of the pits or if he was just over in 1 and 2 at the time. We'll have to go back and look at it, but oh man, this is really going to change up the pace and aggression of this race. A long green flag run, a green flag stop. Everything had cycled through. It was going to come down to who had the best long run car. Not anymore. Now, these guys have 5 sets of tires, so I wouldn't be shocked if everybody's maybe got a set still hanging around. But who goes in to take it? It's going to be a very interesting question. I'll have to wait and see on that. All right, let's go back and look at it here. What happens to the 39. He's trying to get back up to speed, and sure enough, it was coming out of the pits. Just getting loose. It's a very, very tough pit road to exit out of because the apron's flat. You're on cold tires, but you're trying to get up to speed as quick as possible, and you're going to see right here, right as he hits third gear, just a little too greedy. And immediately starts to slide. Around she goes. Now, realistically, I don't know if that should have brought out a caution, but as far as iRacing goes, that draws a caution. And obviously nothing free to intentional. I'm not trying to hit anything there. I'm talking more so he did a good job keeping it off the racetrack. So I'm just shocked that it did throw a caution, but that is, again, really going to change it up. I don't think that's what Bacino wanted to see. I don't think that's what Ross wanted to see. But that may have been what Kenneth Redinger wanted to see. It seemed like his car was maybe starting to fade out a little bit. The 39 loops it around on the backstretch after getting loose coming out of the pits. Back in the right direction, no damage. Just a loss of track position for Josh Reed. All right, back up front. John Ross, still your race leader. It'll be 123 of 150 complete as we cross this time. Now, I'm curious. Ross has been a pretty good car all night, but he's been contending here recently with Devin Bacino. Let's see if we can bring Ross up and see how he's feeling right about now. Hey, John, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, man, you're running in first. You've ran in first quite a bit here tonight. But all of a sudden, on that last run, you had a couple challengers. It was Redinger in the early portion of the run, and it was Bacino late in the run. First off, how did you feel about this caution? Did you want to see this caution in a short run to the finish, or were you hoping we'd stay green?
No, I kind of wanted it to stay green. I felt like, you know, on that last run, I just kind of sat back and tried to save a little bit of tire on that top side and really wanted it to go green. But, you know, that throws a little strategy in because I got some old tires. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we know how crazy things can get towards the end of the race. And the big question I have for you now is, knowing that we could have a few restarts, do you have a set of tires left? And if so, do you consider taking it, knowing that there's less than 30 laps to go?
Yeah, I do have another set. That's why I didn't come in here. I do have a set sitting there. I think it all depends on when the caution comes out and what we think is going to happen and how these tires play out. I think the guy in third likes to run the bottom. I think the faster lines up top early on. So we'll just see. I think if I get 10 or 15 laps on these, I'll definitely come in and change them.
All right. Well, hey, John, we appreciate you talking to us. You've been fast so far. Good luck the rest of the way.
Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. That's John Ross. We will go ahead and slide him back down to his teammates. And so for John Ross right now, looks like he is one of the Adrenaline Racing teammates. And so he said he feels like the top's faster early. I'd agree with that. That's certainly what it's looked like here in the last couple runs. Now, by the way, track temp-wise, temperature has dropped another degree. So grip's not going to get any worse. In fact, even with old tires, these guys are still going to be running pretty fast. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. Going to be just over 25 laps to go here at Kansas. And the first of what could be a few late race restarts. Devin Bacino quickly tries to jump down to the bottom of the racetrack to make it 3 wide on Chris Cornett. And he is able to do just that. Cornett right now in a very, very tough spot, but he's going to be able to get out of it. He takes that position and will put himself now up to second. Cornett, last week's winner. What kind of speed does he have up here in clean air? You ready to find out? His trouble out back. One going to spin. Caution going to come back out. That's a big hit, too. I'm trying to figure out exactly what that was. It may have been Justin Parham. Indeed, it was. The 19 brings out the 8th caution of the night. Massive hit to the front right side of his Chevy Camaro. So he'll have to go in here and try to get this car worked on a bit. But man, oh man. So now we're going to see a restart probably inside 20 laps to go, or close to it at least. And here you go, just Sean Wilder, great big run coming up the racetrack. Just gets into 19 for Wilder there. He misjudged that pretty bad from that angle. Let's see if it looks that way from another view. Well, you see they're kind of slow up top here. In fact, Parham does, I don't know if he gets tight, tries to check up. Joey does. Joey gets into the outside wall and actually gets right on the rear bumper of Parham. Now, Parham was starting to come down, so yeah, I'll take that back a little bit. from that angle, you can definitely see Parham's coming down just a little bit, but Wilder's definitely coming up the racetrack here, and I think you got to put that one maybe a little bit more on Wilder, but again, they're both moving, and there is some contact in the left rear, which just immediately sends that 19 around, and then he overcorrects hard into the outside wall. Joey Hickox had absolutely nowhere to go, T-boned him. See if that view shows you kind of again. You see the 91 starts to come up, 19 starts to come down. Just slight contact sends Parham in a spin, overcorrects, and look at that hit. Bam! Rear tires up off the ground. Hickox T-bones him, nowhere to go. Lucky that this wreck didn't actually collect any more of them, to be honest. And one more look at this here from TV3. Before we go back live and set ourselves up for this final restart, which is going to be, well, I say final restart. It's not guaranteed to be final, but it's going to be another late one, and it's going to be crazy. All right, so up front leading the way is still John Ross. Devin Bacino, though, now moved up to second. You've got Jay Stinson in third, Kenneth Redinger fourth, and Chase Greer rounding out your top five. Well, we had a chance under that last caution to talk to John Ross. That was, of course, your Stage 2 winner. John Lynch up in the 7th spot. He was your Stage 1 winner. He's got some work to do, but as these guys line back up here, 2 by 2, as the lights go off on the pace car, if you're just tuning in, you picked a good time to do so. It's going to be a 23-lap to go restart here at Kansas with 3 to 4 of arguably the fastest cars of the night, all up front and all on somewhat worn-out tires. So nobody's on fresh Goodyears in the top 5 right now. If we see a caution inside probably 15 laps to go, I think that's when you see the option of some of the guys coming in to take tires. But nobody taking anything just yet. So we'll have to see what happens on this restart. But definitely a big opportunity here for Bacino to try to grab his second win of the season. We'll see what John Ross can do as well. And then Jay Stinson, Kenneth Redinger, 2 drivers that are looking for their first win of the season. As this is, again, race number 5. Long ways to go in both the regular season and the season as a whole. And a big variety of tracks. So if you like the mile and a half, good news is a lot more to come. But we'll be back to Kansas late in the playoffs. So if you want to be fast then, it's a good thing to take notes now and try to grab some momentum to get your season going in the right direction. All right, let's try this again. 23 laps to go as the green flag now back in the air here at Kansas. And it's a good restart again for John Ross. He has been absolutely lights out on these restarts all night. And he continues it here. Watch out back, though. That's where a lot of the chaos has been unfolding here tonight. Right around the middle of the pack is big run on the outside. I believe that was Redinger. He takes the spot away from Chase Greer. Still has a run further back. Look at this. 2 and 3 wide. Fritz going to try to go to the bottom there with Merkel. And he will do so. The 5 gets trapped up top. Nowhere to go for Ronald Losey. The 49 trying to sneak in. One into the wall. That was Redinger, I believe, actually, as Jay Stinson now up to second. Bacino, the biggest loser of that restart, falling 2 spots in the course of just that first lap. But again, he's probably saving some tire here, hoping to have something for the end. As watch out, the 49, Joe Hudson, thought about 3 wide on Patrick Hernandez, but he quickly thought better of it. Chris Cornett now finds himself buried in 11th. He's also got some work to do. The 5 looking back up top. The 11 into the outside wall. I believe that is one of the lap cars of Kerry Klein. Yep, sure enough it is. All right, so back up front we go now as we are approaching 20 laps to go. You've got John Ross leading, Stinson still in second. But if you're Jay Stinson, what do you do here? I mean, we're getting to the end of the race. Obviously, you want to get as high of a finish as you can. Do you feel like Redinger is fast enough? You know he was earlier, that if you let him by, he can go down and track down the 44. Or do you do everything here to hold him off? And if you're Redinger, do you try to help Stinson up there and make them get racy and then try to get a 2-for-1? Or do you try to pass Stinson first and then go after John Ross? Looks like for now he's content with staying in line because Jay Stinson is there. Question is, where is Stinson going to go? There's not many options yet as he just kind of runs in the wake. Kenneth Redinger, though, trying to give him these big runs down the straightaways, something that'll give him a shot to make a move on the 44, but still no dice yet as they work into turn number 3. It will be coming to 19 laps to go now. Justin Parham out of this race. Wanted to mention that as, caution. Caution is out Trouble between the 26 and the 55. Oh, man. And this looks like a pretty big hit as well for the 26. And by the way, that was a misstatement about Parham being out of the race. I was trying to give an update on the two drivers that were out of the race. I don't know why I said Parham. I meant to say Gregory Bloomer and Nathan Brozowski. But back to this incident that just occurred. Tommy Polt. I believe this is the first incident he's been involved in tonight. You see him on the outside here of Ryan Gomes. Actually, this is going to start all the way off at turn 4. Looks like he's going to get wicked tight here. Let's go to the chopper view first. So you see he's running in the wake. The car in front gets tight, has to check up, and then I think, could be wrong here, but I think he tries to slot up in front of Ryan Gomes. He sees that brief opening, doesn't want to lose all the momentum, so I think let's see. I think right here, he's trying to slot up in front. Yeah, he's definitely moving up the racetrack big time. Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to do, and just not clear. Goes across the nose of Ryan Gomes into the outside wall. And then as he's trying to save it here, eventually gets into Ryan Gomes. Oh, big hit for both of those race cars. Before they eventually slide to a halt on the front stretch, and everybody's got to miss them. A couple really close calls right there, actually. Was that Justin Parham, one of the cars that had a view of this one late in the going? Let's see here. So as Parham comes out on the front stretch, does he see it up there? Yeah, he does. Sees those two cars a little late, gets on the brakes, but shoots the middle. And no harm, no foul there. Now, what did this look like from the onboard view of Tommy Polt? Because he got, again, really tight. Watch this. He's running in the wake of the 81. Right as 81 gets down, oh, he hits the apron. That's what bumps him up the track so quick. And then trying to maybe slot in and just slight contact. There's the result. Big shot off that outside safer barrier. If these two have a faster, they may have to consider using it after that one. So 9th caution of the night. 17 laps to go as Devin Bacino now being scored as your leader. And I think this is a strategy call. John Ross, I think, decided it was time to go in for some fresh tires. And this is going to be very interesting to see how this all shakes out. In fact, I'm curious enough to say, let's go back here and see all the drivers that decided to pit right here. So this was just moments ago here. John Ross decides, yeah, I want to go in for some fresh tires. And everybody behind him just about says, yeah, I think I'll do the same. Now the question is, who didn't pit here? I'm looking to see all the names that I can find. You see Stinson, Redinger, Chase Greer, Todd Merkel. Yeah, a lot of drivers that were running near the front. John Lynch decided to pit here. So it's going to make that even more interesting now for some of these front guys. Devin Bacino was great in the long run. I don't know if I would call 16 laps a very short run. I think that is more than enough time for the drivers that are on fresh tires to catch these guys based on how old these tires are. But if they get caught up in a wreck, it may not matter. There's a lot of things that can unfold here, and obviously if we get a couple cautions, that significantly winds down the amount of laps that you'd actually have to run under green, which could maybe be an advantage if you're one of these drivers near the front. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. And again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You are watching the Flatwoods 225 for the NOMA Cup Series. If you are new to PGR eSports, we appreciate it if you give us a follow. Certainly helps us out. And if you're looking for more of the NOMA Cup Series action, if you want to be a driver, go check out the Discord. We have the description in the link in the description to this video. And if you're interested in where these guys normally race so you can watch the racing, go check out Royalty Racing Network. They are usually the host to the broadcast for this season. All right, pace car makes a left turn. Here we go. Back into the Geico restart zone. 15 laps to decide it. Will it be the final caution? Green flag back in the air. Devin Bacino gets a good restart. He is going to lead everybody off towards turn 1. The outside really didn't get going. Joe Hudson got caught sleeping. That allows Bacino to get clear. Hernandez is going to get himself in a pretty awkward spot pretty quickly here. Almost pinched 3 wide. And look at John Ross and company out back. Trouble. 2 into the wall. It's Hernandez and Hudson. They're trying to save it. They're still into each other. They finally gather it up. Everybody's going to give them enough room. They fall back quickly as maybe a little more contact. 4 wide. It's not going to work. They're trying to hold on. Oh, my goodness. Cars are all over the place here on the front stretch. Somehow we made it through all of that. They're still hitting doors back here. Joe Hudson and Patrick Hernandez showing that it is a physical sport. John Lynch into the outside wall. Multiple other cars into the outside wall. Kenneth Redinger gets into the outside wall. I think that might have been Merkel that had to dive to the inside. And I'd be shocked if we go green the rest of the way back here. There we go. John Lynch is going to get half turn. He saves it. Trying to come off the wall now. He's going to wreck. Caution sure to come out here. No, not yet. The 31 slides through the grass. He's going to let it roll right back onto the racetrack. And slides back down. Caution. 10th one of the night. And there was just no way that was going to work. I mean, you saw all the chaos. 3, 4 wide. Cars hitting each other bumper to bumper. You knew it was going to happen. And it's unfortunate for John Lynch that it had to happen to him. He had a pretty solid night going up to this point. And now obviously going to lose all of his track position. I guess the good news is I don't think I see too much damage, but he does have a little bit there on the left front. So he will have to go in for some repairs here. Let's go back and look at this here. See what happens is they're in the middle of the corner. See the 8 of Chase Greer further back, and I think Lynch, first off, I think he's going to blow the corner here, and as he does that, he gets into the outside wall first. Let's see. Yeah, just way too high on entry. He gets into the outside wall. And that's going to slow him up here. Chase Greer goes to the inside. And, oh, actually, when Chase does so, there's actually a little bit of netcode contact here to the left rear of John Lynch. Watch how close Chase Greer gets, but never hits him. iRacing thinks he does. Counts it as contact and immediately spins the 31 around. There's nothing he can do there, but then it straightens him out here as he gets into the outside wall. The toughest thing to do, though, is always trying to get it off of the wall. It's kind of like a suction cup. Once you get on the wall, it's so hard to get off of it. You got to really turn the wheel. But then a lot of times when you do that, once you finally get off the wall, car gets really unstable. And watch this here for John Lynch. Saves it initially, comes off the wall, and see it get loose, corrects back into the wall. And as he gets to the grass here, goes for a spin. And lets it roll. Right back onto the racetrack. I think if he locks it down... In fact, we'll go back and watch this here one more time from TV1. I was going to say, I think if he locks it down once he spins... Car never comes back out onto the racetrack. We may not even have a caution. I don't know if he was hoping it was going to correct in the grass so he could keep rolling straight or what, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's the contact. Watch this, though. He spins through the grass. Now, right here, as a driver right here, kind of lock it down, but you see he's just letting it roll. Just letting it roll, letting it roll. And so eventually that momentum switches back up towards the track. It looks like there he finally locks it down. At that point, he was already back just about on the racetrack. Now, obviously, no big deal there for him. You see him, all the grass gets thrown on the racetrack. In this case, the thing I'm saying, though, that's more of a concern there is lucky that there wasn't traffic. That could have been a big hit for Lynch. So he's kind of lucky, I guess, that he was towards the back of the pack in that case, as the spin ended up just being harmless. Unfortunately, though, again, going to lose all of that track position. All right, so back live now. It'll be a restart with under 10 laps to go. Devin Bacino is your race leader. You've got Chris Cornett second, Matthew Fritz in third. And you've got Jim Treat fourth and Ryan Gomes currently rounding out your top 5. Chris Cornett right now. There's a look at the driver cam as Chris gets ready for what could be, again, the final green flag start of the night. Chris has had a bit of an up and down night. He's been involved in an incident. He's been in the back. He's been in the front. And now he's looking to see if he can grab his 3rd win of the season. That being, again, the driver out of Rome, Georgia. You can kind of see the nerves right now. I think he's feeling it. I don't blame him. The end of these races get really, really chaotic, and a lot of times it's tough to try to, if you know, especially in this case, that these guys are realistically on somewhat older tires than the guys that they're getting ready to race against. Nonetheless, though, let's see how this is going to play out. And I'm watching back here for John Ross, who you see currently sitting in that 5th, 6th spot. Yeah, that 6th spot. He's going to have a lot of work to do here, but he's got enough time to do it. I think if you're Devin Bacino or anybody in the front row, you either need John Ross to get significantly held up, or you need another caution, and you need it quick. Here we go. 9 laps to decide it. The Flatwoods 225. Green flag is back in the air. And it's a good restart for Devin Bacino. That outside did not get going good. That's not good news for John Ross. Trouble. Joe Hudson turned around. That's exactly what Devin Bacino needed. Joe Hudson goes for a spin. You saw him get turned on the restart. That is about the best news that Devin Bacino could get. That is literally exactly what I was talking about, because that gives John Ross not any chance to gain any spots and clicks off another 4 laps of the race. So now Devin Bacino is going to have to try to hold him off for maybe 4 or 5 laps instead of trying to hold him off for 9 laps. All right, well, let's go see what happened here to Joe Hudson as he ended the back of Kenneth Redinger right out of the start here. It was a bit of a checkup, but I didn't think it was too bad. See, Hudson tries to split 3 and gets turned out back. I don't know if he was trying to split 3 or go to the inside, whatever the case was. Let's see. Well, he tries to go to the inside, and yeah, just not clear. So Hudson turns himself around. Does a good job, though, again, pointing it back in the right direction. Not getting any damage, and losing maybe a few spots, but he was already running towards the back either way. So he doesn't lose a ton of track position. Gets it pointed back in the right direction. All right. So we'll try this again. It'll probably be right around, if I had to guess, 4 or 5 laps to go. So as the pace car continues to work around, we are going to go ahead and take our final break tonight. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us for the restart here at Kansas.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created
Our own drink company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got paddles.
The monkey is prime!
This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air.
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. It'll be just a handful of laps remaining for this restart. Could be the final one, but if we get another caution, going to send us into overtimes. Devin Bacino trying to hold on for a second win of the season. Chris Cornett trying to see if he can steal it for another win on the season for him. Gomes, Fritz trying to get there first. And then fresh tires back right around the 44 of John Ross. Here we go. 5 laps shootout at Kansas. Green flag back in the air. This time it's a better restart for the inside. Chris Cornett actually beats Devin Bacino to the line. We'll see if the admins have a look at that. But a blinding restart from the 88 is going to take the lead. Devin Bacino tries to fight for second here between himself and Matthew Fritzen. You see the 88. I don't know if he made a mistake. I think he lifted right there. I think he had to let these guys by. Nonetheless, though, he files back into that second and third spot. Devin Bacino looks to try to pull away. Watch for the fresh tires to 44. John Ross trapped in traffic right now. There's just not anywhere to go. He needs this to go green, though, the rest of the way to have any chance. Devin Bacino still up top, running this race car now as hard as he has all night. John Ross stuck up top as well. The fresh tires proven to not really mean much right now. Bacino has about a half a second gap between himself and that 44, but more concerning right now is the 88, Chris Cornett, trying to close that gap back up on the 68 of Devin Bacino. And now just 3 laps to go. Oh, trouble! Ryan Gomes is going to get turned. Caution is going to come back out. Oh, big hits. Just past the start-finish line. Kenneth Redinger's involved. A little more contact back there between the 5 of Losey and the 49 of Hudson. And actually, that caution may have worked in the favor of John Ross. We'll have to go back and look at what caused this one, but major damage for Redinger. That right front completely ripped off. In fact, looking at it, yeah, you see it right there. That is massive front end damage. So Redinger's night and chance of winning is going to come to a close as we'll be heading to our first attempt at a green-white checkered. Let's go back and see where this one unfolds and everything goes wrong. Coming off of turn 4. I think it starts in front of Redinger. Pretty far in front, actually. Yeah, it does. It was, again, with the 55 of Ryan Gomes. And back it up even more here. That was the green flag. I want to go back to the yellow flag. Here we go. So you see Ryan, and just on his inside, looks like that's actually the 81 machine of Jim Treat. And we'll go to an aerial shot of this. Watch it from the chopper view. You see the 55? Is he coming down? No. That's the 81 coming up. And man, I'm not sure if Jim Treat didn't realize that Ryan Gomes was there, if he was trying to side draft, if he thought he was clear behind. I don't know, but that's a really, really interesting move right there. Now, you know, it wasn't egregious. He didn't move way up. And in fact, similar to the last one, after I look at this a couple more times, I'm starting to think back that maybe, let's see, was there actually a little bit of movement from the 55? I think there was. Now, granted, if you're Ryan Gomes, obviously you're thinking that the 81's going to fall to 29, keeping in his draft down the front stretch. But I think more than anything, it's actually here that the 81 really doesn't move much. He goes down a little bit, but he doesn't go down as much as Ryan Gomes is expecting. And so it looks like that's what initially sparks the contact. Show you that again from this view. And then as that contact happens, collects Patrick Hernandez. As he slides up, Redinger got hit by Lynch and piles in with nowhere to go. And Ryan Gomes slides down. Man, there's a couple cars that almost got collected right there as well. So Ryan Gomes also had major damage. Watch it from the cockpit view here. Gets turned, and then this is the big one right here. Bam. Kenneth Redinger, really nowhere to go. When you have a car in the middle of the pack slide back up like that, it's a tough one to avoid. So another tough break that now puts us under the 12th caution here of the night, and will send us into our first overtime attempt. And up front, you've got Devin Bacino still being scored as your race leader. Chris Cornett second, and John Ross currently rounding out the podium. We've got 3 total attempts at a green-white checkered finish. Here's how the rules work. Leader has to take the white flag for this race to be official. If we get a caution before that point, we'll rack them up, try it again. But once that leader takes the white flag, race is official. We will not see another caution, and all bets are off at that point. 3 total attempts as well before, obviously, this race could be determined by a caution, but I don't think we're going to have that issue. I think these guys are going to wrap it up right here and now. Devin Bacino, window of opportunity, it's here. It's now. Can he hold on? Green-white checkered attempt number 1. Here we go. Great restart for the 68 of Devin Bacino, just like he did a couple restarts ago. And it's all going to be about how can the 44 and the 88 position themselves. Immediately, Bacino goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Chris Cornett takes the top, and John Ross tries to shoot through the middle, and it doesn't work out in favor of the 44. They're stuck 3 wide racing out back. That's exactly what Bacino needed to see, but here we go. John Ross, big dive to the inside. That's the move he needed to make. He'll get clear to second as Devin Bacino off of turn 4. We'll see the white flag. 1 lap to go at Kansas. Bacino trying to hold on. John Ross thought he got clear, but didn't quite have it. The momentum came back to the outside, and all of a sudden, not looking like it's in the favor of John Ross anymore. They continue to race it out for second, as it's a melee on the backstretch of everybody scratching and clawing for position. But up front, The car who found long run speed late, went with strategy for the restarts, is going to grab his second win of the season. Devin Bacino wins the drag race back to the line at Kansas. Second win of the season, first at a non-super speedway. And the 8-time SCSRA champ is looking like he wants to potentially contend to add a championship to the NOMA Series. By the way, Chris Cornett finished second, making it close right there at the line. Only 0.09 of a second separating those two. And then John Ross finishes third after the tire strategy. Devin Bacino brings it around to burn it down in front of the virtual grandstands here tonight. So as he continues to do so, we will pull up your official results here tonight. And by the way, we're going to have interviews with your top 3 coming up here momentarily, so make sure you do stick with us. But again, your race winner is Devin Bacino in the 68 machine, second one of the season. You've got Chris Cornett taking home second here tonight. John Ross finishes third. Matthew Fritz back in fourth. Joey Hickok's fifth. Josh Freed, good comeback for him, finishes in sixth. It'll be Sean Wilder in seventh. Jay Stinson in eighth, with Todd Merkel in ninth. And Doc Hudson, when I say Doc Hudson, Joe Hudson, I don't know why that came to mind, finishes in the top 10. Sean Lynch in 11th, Chase Greer 12th, Ronald Lozzi in 13th, Justin Rogerson 14th, Keith Prince in 15th. It'll be Brian Wortman finishing 15th here tonight. Then you've got Kerry Klein, he finishes in the 17th spot. Rounding out the top 18 is going to be Jim Treat. Rounding out the top 20 here tonight in 19th, it's Patrick Hernandez, and in 20th, Tommy Polt. Justin Parham finishes 21st. Kenneth Redinger 22nd. Ryan Gomes 23rd, with Gregory Bloomer in 24th. Nathan Brzozowski finishes in 25th. And the last car in the field here tonight finishing in that 25th position at that. All right, we are going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back here at Kansas. All right, going to kick things off first here tonight with your race winner, and that is Devin Bacino. Devin, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Got you, brother.
Well, you take home the win here tonight, second one of the season, but it's at 1.5 miles. But, I mean, man, first of all, what about the strategy call? You decide to stay out on older tires, and you fend everybody else off for about 15-plus laps. How'd you do that?
Yeah, so I didn't expect that at all. I mean, that second to last run, or the first run of the last stage there, we had really good long run speed. We drove our way up, I want to say, from 17th to maybe, I think it was second right before we pit there with the 44 and Kenneth there. And I just knew that we'd be in really rough shape if we had a short run there, because we had a short run earlier in the race and just fried our stuff up. I think it was before the end of the second stage. I'm a bottom feeder, so I know how you have to run the top on the short run, and we just didn't have it. So, yeah, everyone kind of pit in front of us, and there was no strategy. It was me just, we got to win, and I knew that if I pit behind the 44, the two, all those guys that came in, I wasn't going to beat them. I wasn't going to leapfrog them on freshies, so stayed out, and I told my teammate, Ryan, the 55, I'm like, hey, we need some cautions here to shorten up the final run of this thing, because I knew the 88 had freshies. A couple guys behind us had freshies, so rather be lucky than good some days, but I think we were a little bit of both tonight. So,
absolutely. And again, you grab your second win of the season. How important is it? I know it's still early in the season, but how much momentum does it give you, and even part of your team, getting 2 wins this early on in the season?
Yeah, it definitely feels, Daytona's awesome. I love winning at Daytona, but tracks like this, there's a lot of communication between myself and Ryan in the Discord, what worked, what didn't, and with how long the schedule is, and, how many 1.5 miles are on the track or on the schedule. Definitely add to our notepads, I like to say. So, just try to keep the momentum up. We got a second and a first on the 1.5 miles. So if we could just keep kind of, building up on our 1.5 intermediate speed and, stacking some playoff points at the same time, that's what we're shooting for.
Indeed. Well, hey, Devin, we appreciate you talking to us here tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I just want to shout out you guys for putting it on. We appreciate you broadcasting tonight. I'm very excited to go back and watch this. Everyone over at NOMA, all the sponsors that are on board with NOMA that put this thing together. It's it's a fun place to come and run on Sunday nights. Or Saturday night, sorry. I just want to shout out Level Up Subs, New Craft Fine Jewelry and Design, Dev Sports Cards, Flatwoods for sponsoring the race. Everyone that makes this what it is, all the drivers, my teammates, because if we don't have all that, then there's no show. So a lot of pieces, man.
Absolutely. And again, Devin, congrats on the win here tonight. Second, we'll see if you can grab the third next week. Again, thanks for talking to us, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. All
right, there you go. That's going to now bring us up to your second place finisher here tonight, Chris Cornett. We'll see if we can bring him up here, see how he's feeling after coming so close right there at the end of this one. Here we go. Hey, Chris, this is Austin up at the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, you come up just a little bit short here tonight. I'll tell you what, though. Coming to the line, I thought you were out of it all of a sudden. You guys are a couple 100 feet away. It looks like you were getting ready to drag race for it. Tell us a little bit about those last restarts. What more do you think you needed to get by the 68?
A couple more laps, especially on that last one. I had to sent three wide due to side drafting me, and it was slowing me down. If that didn't happen, I probably would have had a chance coming to the checkered. But I mean, all in all, just a good night, good points night there. Kind of wish I didn't. I mean, I kind of jumped the start on that one restart, but I didn't. But he went, I went, but I had a better jump. But I gave it back so I didn't get black flagged or in more trouble. So, and then, but yeah, just all in all, just good night. Could have been better, but not complaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a second place finish for you here tonight, and we've already seen a couple wins, but here tonight, it was a pretty chaotic way for you to have to get up to that second spot. We saw you involved in a couple incidents. We saw you at the back. We saw you at the front. How do you stay focused on a roller coaster night like that and keep yourself in the game?
Think of the big picture here and just realize what's on the line and what not to mess up for me to be there at the end like I was there at the end, just to have a chance to compete for back-to-back wins. So it's kind of calmed myself down. I had teammates in there calming me down, and I was hoping to have at least one more lap of shot, but all those cautions I feel like helped out the 68 because I had a lot fresher tires too. So I had about 15 lap fresher tires than he did, but I mean, he just kept getting those good restarts, and I guess it wasn't meant to be tonight, but double top twos back to back, I'll take it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Chris, we appreciate you talking to us. So before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Thank you for Zero X Media Design. It's a great team. Derek, Buckaloo, Dustin, Rogerson, they make good paint schemes. Taylor Construction for the sponsor, Evans Flooring, all the other big sponsors make this possible. Come check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, just wish I could have got them another victory back to back, but you know, one spot short's not terrible to complain about. So.
Absolutely. Well, again, Chris, we appreciate you talking to us tonight. Congrats on the second place finish, and hopefully we will see you next week.
Appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right, there you go. Chris Cornett, second place finisher here tonight. Now, I was looking for your third place finisher here in John Ross. I don't see him yet, so we'll give him here about another half a minute or so to see if we can get him in the waiting room, and if not, then we will wrap things up from there. So let's see, we'll send him a quick message. But man, I mean, overall, what a great night of racing it was. I know we saw, a decent amount of cautions, but there towards the end, you got to give a tip of the cap to Devin Bacino for the job that he did, especially holding everybody off. I didn't realize that the 88 was also on fresh tires. That's even more impressive for the 68 to hold him off in that instance. But you had a lot of fast cars here tonight, a lot of guys that could have won it, and I think if it would have came down to a long run, you honestly might have saw the same winner. So you can't say by any means that Bacino did not earn it or didn't deserve it here tonight. He certainly worked his tail off to make it happen, and 2 wins early going. It's a pretty big deal. It's a good job on his end, and Looks like John Ross himself had to go, but we have, I'm not sure if it's either a spotter or a crew chief or a driver in here with him. He told to do it. You know what? Give me just a moment. We'll be right back. All right, yeah, it looks like so it's a teammate to John Ross, and that is Christian Delgado. Christian, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
Well, you didn't technically finish third, but your teammate did, and it was a great run by John Ross. I heard he had to go, and he wanted you to give us some words. So, I'll ask you from your perspective. It seemed like he may have had the best short run speed here tonight, and arguably one of the best long run speeds. What more did he feel like he needed there at the end?
Yeah, John, he said he was pretty content with running in that P3 spot, obviously. He won both stages, and, with the stage points, that's really huge in here at NOMA with how the points work. He won both stages, that's 20 bonus points, plus he got a 0x, plus he led a lap, so he really compiled a lot of these points that you can get throughout the race here. But yeah, John really just didn't need that caution at the end there with Josh spinning down pit road. I still don't really know why that was a caution or why it was thrown. I'm not the race controller or anything, so that's not my call, but a little confusing to see that caution come out. But yeah, after that, John decided to stay out and try to hold his own, and he did for a little bit, and then he kind of panicked and came down pit road, and unfortunately with the way cautions came out towards the end, there just wasn't enough time for him to get back up there with, I think he had 20 lap fresher tires, and even with the 55 and 81 wrecking in front of him, just the way the caution came, the way that last restart went with the bottom line not getting hooked up like it needed to, it forced him to go 3, and just not enough time for John. And I think he had a top 2 car. I think Devin really surprised us all with that long run pace, but at the end there, we weren't gonna go on a long run. 25 laps isn't too long here at Kansas, but just wrong place, wrong time for John.
Yeah, unfortunately, but hey, still a good run overall tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anybody that yourself or John wants to thank or shout out here tonight?
Yeah, first of all, I have to thank all these guys over at Adrenaline Racing. We see Josh back there in P6 having a good finish after recovering from that wreck. So, but all the guys over at Adrenaline and all the guys here, I'll be back next week. I got put on a little probation after Iowa. I got into a little bit of a shoving match after the race and got parked for this one, but we'll be back for next week at Kentucky and one of our better tracks. So just a huge shout out to everybody over at Adrenaline Racing. Huge shout out to Dalton Carter for making at least John's cars and making him look really presentable out here on the track. John, I always enjoy looking at John's stuff, but also got to give a huge shout out to High Velocity TV. If you guys are looking for a broadcast outside of PGR eSports, you guys do an amazing job too, but make sure to email us over at hvtvbroadcasting@aol.com. But lastly, got to give a huge shout out to the admins and everybody who puts on the stuff in the background. Obviously, we couldn't do without any of those guys, the race control, everything. They make us going around the track easy when it comes to getting everything done and getting everything set up. Obviously, got to give a huge shout out to the league sponsors. Couldn't do without them. And obviously, lastly, got to give a huge shout out to you, Austin, and everybody over here at PGR for putting on a great broadcast. I know all of us here at Adrenaline enjoy going back and watching, doing homework and stuff, so couldn't do it without you either.
Absolutely, and thank you, John, for talking to us. Or, well, I say John. Thank you, Christian, for talking to us, and tell John thank you for still giving us an interview tonight through a teammate. So congrats again on that third place finish to John, and hopefully we'll see you guys both next week.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right, well, there you go. That is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Kansas Speedway. Again, crazy race and an even crazier win for Devin Bacino to hold everybody off with older tires. Well, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, normally these races this season would be broadcasted over on, and actually I just see now that Christian commented in the chat, but back to the point I was getting ready to make was, again, normally these races are broadcasted on Royalty Racing Network, so we were just filling in here tonight, but appreciate everybody tuning in anyway. I hope you all enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports, and until next time, have a good night.